Good morning. Blessed Chinese New Year. Can you see that PowerPoint is in line with our theme, Chinese New Year? Can you see a golden word, success? We all want success, isn't it? And Chinese New Year greetings, there are different type of notions to success. Pastor has been showing some Chinese words, so I think I must also show some Chinese power also. For example, this one. 马到成功, right? To win an instant success. We all want success and we want it fast, right? And there's one more link to success, but the word success may not be there. It's like whatever you think in your heart, your desire will be fulfilled. You'll be successful in that. Or 万事如意, right? All things according to your will. Whatever you will to do in all areas of your life or whatever area that you wish, you will gain it. Success. But some of us may protest and say, no, we are Christians, no, we don't use this type of wishes. Well, but we may spiritualize our desire for success. We may use words like, I can do all things to Christ who strengthens me. Well, we still want success, but cut out using a verse in the Bible. Or we may make it more spiritual, sounds more spiritual, and says, may the Lord grant you success. Or may the Lord grant you victory in your life or ministry. Or it's still the notion of success, right? Or the Lord calls you to be fruitful in your life. We use the word fruitful because it sounds more like John 15, right? So sounds more correct. But it is still a notion of success in one way or another, right? But not all of us can handle success. Not all of us can handle it. Some of us want it so badly, whether in the area of our study, or our career, or our relationship, or the possessions that we have. We want it so badly and we want to get it at all costs for success. And what will happen? Sometimes we want it so badly, dangerously, sometimes we may dishonor God, or we may compromise biblical principles or our character just to get success, or some value system that we have. Lastly, we may even endanger our relationship with God. We cause a danger, we risk our relationship with God to get that success. And when we don't get that success, what happens? There are three things that will happen. We will blame God, or we will be angry at people or at the situation. We say, how come I'm not getting the success I want? It must be his fault, her fault, the boss' fault, or whatever. Or we will be jealous of those who are more successful than us. These are all symptoms of us being desperate for success. But when God really grants us success, and let's say we get really success in our careers, studies, in a sports arena, we may not be able to handle it. So how should we Christians view success? Number one. Number two, how should we handle success? Today's passage in Genesis, read for us just now by Brother Derek, it shows us how Joseph successfully handled success. So many times. Okay, so how Joseph was successful in handling success. Let's take a quick recap in chapter 41. For the first part of chapter 41, the Pharaoh had two dreams, but actually it's of the same dream, remember? So Joseph was called upon from a prison to interpret the dreams for Pharaoh, and Joseph did it correctly. And he interpreted for them, and after that, Joseph suggested a method to deal with the coming famine. And verse 37, it was read for us that this proposal pleased Pharaoh and all his officials or all his servants. So Joseph said, Pharaoh looked at it. After hearing Joseph, he said, yeah, this is a very good suggestion. And it pleased him. So verse 38 to 45, it shows us how Joseph now is going to experience one big success in his life. Verse 38. What did he experience? Recognition. Pharaoh says, can we find anyone like him? Like this guy right in front of us? In other words, saying, who is more fitting for this role than Joseph? Wow, this guy is a suitable candidate. Not just that, verse 39, he received a commendation. It says, you are wise. And as the Spirit of God is in you, you must be the wise guy, and you have understanding. You understand time, and you understand situation. So Joseph's quality was commended. And after that, he was given a high appointment of highest responsibility. Verse 40, it says, "You shall be over my house." That's what Pharaoh tells Joseph, which means he will be in charge of everything. Verse 41 says that he will be in charge of everything in Egypt. Everything. Wow. You shall be over my house. That's what Pharaoh is telling him. What do you call this? In army, we have one term. He said, "I'm Pharaoh, and now you kena arrow." And sorry. He said he will be entrusted with a huge responsibility. But more than that, he received a promotion of an unexpected kind. He become the second place only to Pharaoh. Verse 40 it says, "You shall be overall in charge." Only Pharaoh is one in his throne is higher than him. He represents Pharaoh. Verse 42. See that Pharaoh passed him his signet ring, which means he represents Pharaoh in all the decision making. Verse 43, he will ride on Pharaoh's second chariots. Wow. And verse 44, Pharaoh says, "Although I am Pharaoh, but nobody in the whole of Egypt will lift his hands and leg without your permission." Well, can you see that the kind of promotion that he is in is so highly regarded now? And he's enriched. Pharaoh clothed him with fine clothes in verse 42 and give him this gold necklace. It is kind of like symbolize that what he could be getting materially in his position. It's a starting of his material rewards or remuneration. Well, this is what he's going to get. Not just that. Lastly, I put there he's honored. Verse 40. Take a look at verse 40. In ESV version, he says that at your order, people will receive the order as you have command. But this is all my people shall order themselves as you command. But this is not the best translation, okay? Because the original Hebrew word really means people will kiss you. People will kiss you. I think at the footnote of your ESV Bible they may put that people will kiss you. So NASB actually translate it as people will pay homage to you. That's what they do to a king or to the king themselves. Okay, in verse 43, furthermore, it says that at this chariot people, when people see him, they will shout, "Bow your knees." They will pay homage to him. You will receive this high honor. Wow. You can imagine at this time, one night before, Joseph was in dungeon, was in prison, wearing dirty clothes, prison clothes, and was at the lowest pit of his life. He was both a slave to the captain of the guard and a prisoner at the same time. Just one night before. The next day, he rises to a height that is unbelievable. Now, what do you call this? In Chinese New Year, there's also one word that I think fits for it. One Chinese word, one only. It's called what? Oh, sorry, not really correct, but something like that. It's like, you can imagine, wow, Joseph is like overnight change, and Joseph was really successful. But more than that, Pharaoh did two things to him. Look at verse 45. Pharaoh renamed Joseph. He gave him an Egyptian name. Second, he gave him a wife, Asenna, a priest's daughter. What is Pharaoh doing over here? You must observe this very carefully. I think what Pharaoh is doing over here for Joseph is to give him a full acceptance as their own kind. Let me explain this. You see, the Egyptians are actually racist. They look down on the Hebrew people. You may ask me, how do you know? To be honest, because my wife Esther is an Egyptian. No, just kidding. You can take a look at chapter 43. 43 verse 32. The Egyptians will not even eat with the Hebrew people because in the verse it tells you that it is abomination. Or in other version put as it is detestable to eat with the Hebrew people. This is chapter 43. So but now Pharaoh gave Joseph an Egyptian name. He's like giving him an Egyptian identity. Like in the Singapore context, he's a foreigner here, the government give him a pink IC. Also all the CPF is all settled, and everything is all settled. All the benefits, all the medical benefits are all were given to him, plus national service, everything. Oh yeah, that's also benefit. Okay, so it's that he's given an Egyptian identity. Second, he gave him a priest's daughter as his wife. And this is like lifting up, elevating his status to a high status in the society. So a commentator, John Currid, said this: it is like marrying him to a high caste in the society. A high caste in the society. So what Pharaoh is doing is really changing his identity to accept him as one of their kind, the high caste of an Egyptian. Joseph was really, really successful. What did he have over here? He received recognition, commendation, appointment of a high responsibility, promotion to a second in command of a whole entire Egypt, and rich materially, honored to a highest position, and fully accepted as their own kind. Joseph was fully successful. But we need to step back and remember what we have read through from chapter 37 all the way to 41 now in Genesis. First, Joseph was sold as a slave, and God allowed that. Second, Joseph was framed by Potiphar's wife and thrown into prison. God allowed that too. Third, Joseph was forgotten by the baker, and God also allowed that. Now, Joseph gained a tremendous success. God, in His sovereignty, also allowed that. So we ask ourselves in the question at the beginning, say, how do we view success? I'd like to suggest to you that success is granted by God, by the sovereign God Himself. Success is granted by the sovereign God Himself. Okay, we look back the passage, all these come because of what God has given to him. Success is granted by the sovereign God. One implication for us as we understand this is that Christians, we may desire for success, but don't be desperate for it. We may desire for success. Nothing wrong in itself. In itself, there is nothing wrong. It's not a sin. But do not be so desperate for it that we dishonor God, we compromise our character or biblical principles, and we risk or we endanger our relationship with God. We don't be so desperate for success of any kind, whether it's relationship, career, gaining of possessions, of money, or in our studies, or in our recognitions. Don't be so desperate for it that if we don't get it, we begin to blame God. We begin to blame other people or circumstances, or begin to be jealous of those who achieve it ahead of us. We're so jealous that we are, hey, the guy, that kind of face, also can get married. I'm so handsome, nobody want me. We can become so jealous over this kind of thing, We must understand, how do we view success? First, success is granted by the sovereign God. So if God doesn't grant, second implication for these, if God doesn't grant success, number one, you must be patient, because it may not be the right time for us to gain that success, right? Just like Joseph, he was patient. He waited. Chapter 41, verse 1 will tell you that he waited for 2 more years. The time that he was sold as a slave was age 17. Now he rise in position was age 30. How many years is that? 13 years. 13 years of waiting. He was waiting. Be patient, because it may not be the right timing. Or secondly, be contented, because you may not be the right person, or I may not be the right person to receive the success. And if we do get it, by all means, it may harm us. You get me? It may harm us. If you want relationship so badly, and you want all the way to get it, and when you get it, even you dishonor God or compromise biblical principle, what will happen? You will see the person endanger their relationship with God, and they drift away from God. It happens many times. Or you want money, or you want career success, and you see many times people dive into it at all costs, and at the end of it, you bring them to their downfall. It's very dangerous. So what should we do? I put there some application. We should pray for our heart. We pray for our hearts for 3 things. Pray that God will reveal our heart's desire to us, to review our desire, to see whether we are desperate for some kind of success in our life. And everybody want different kind of successes, different type. You may want relationship success, maybe boy BGR relationship, or your children, or your grandchildren, or your spouse, or whatever, your friends, maybe relationship success. Or you may be career that you're pursuing. Or money, some people think that I want to be a first million by age 30, which is quite near to my age. Or study, or you want to study success, you want to be the smartest person. Or you want to some kind of recognitions or liking and all this. It could be any kind of, you ask God to reveal to us what is in that heart of ours. Second, pray that God will guard it. God will guard our hearts. That we will not love success more than we love Him. We will not love success more than we love Him. Thirdly, God will grant us either patience to realize that it's not the right timing, or contentment to realize that we are not the right person, or both. We are not the right person, and it is not the right time for us to. It could be both. Pray that God will grant us that too, in view of success. However, God does grant success. How should we handle it? If God does grant success, how should we handle it? How did Joseph handle it? Take a look at this. Verse 46 to 52. Handling success. Joseph went through the land immediately. Can you see? Verse 46, he went through the land immediately. And the verse follow, in verse 46, it says, it was age 30, he entered the service of Pharaoh king, and Joseph went out of the presence of Joseph and went through the land. It is almost like the immediate thing that he do. He went out of the Pharaoh's presence and he start work. He did not waste any time in celebrating all his successes. He didn't waste any time floating in the air and say, "Oh, you see now, look at me, who am I now?" Or he did not waste time sitting in his office, warming up his office seat, and start daydreaming or start calculating, say, Potiphar, right? Throw me into prison. Let's get him into my office and talk to me. Or who? Potiphar's wife, Sabo me, right? He didn't count anything. Or the chief cupbearer, right? He forgot about me, right? Ask him what happened to his memory. Now I'm second in position. No, he didn't. He didn't waste any of his time in this. What do you call this? I put that Joseph remained sober in his position. He knew that his successors was from God. He knew Pharaoh was still the king. He knew that he had a great task ahead of him. Pharaoh remained very clear-headed, even in his success. Not many of us can do that. Not many of us can remain clear-headed in our success. And what did he start doing? Take a look at verse 48 all the way. Take a look at all the verbs that's given there. Verse 48, he gathered food. This is a massive and complicated work. You must understand, he must go to all the cities, survey all the cities in Egypt, understand all the crops and all the different parts that will produce crops, collect 20%, 1/5 of it, remember? It was said, 1/5 of the crops. So he gathered them. He must make sure there's no corruption and there's no idling on the other hand. To collect all these crops, and he must make sure that all the officials that he put in place are good, honest, trustworthy to do their duties for the next 7 years. It's a massive and complicated work. Next thing, he placed food in the cities. Can you see verse 38? He placed food in all the cities. It's a massive and complicated work. He needs to build storage. And this storage room must be able to withstand all kind of weather, so that whatever stored grain will not spoil. And there must be a proper system for transport. It's massive and complicated. Verse 49, he said he stored up food. There must be proper accounting and make sure there's adequate security. To make sure that there's no one who could rob this stored grain and no thief will enter to steal from it. It's a massive and complicated work. What was Joseph doing for the next 7 years? I put there, Joseph was diligent and disciplined. Joseph was diligent and disciplined. In fact, if you remember chapter 37 all the way to right now 41, this is a trademark of Joseph, isn't it? The trademark of Joseph, whether in the low position or in the high position, he remained diligent and disciplined. Remember that when he was in Potiphar's house as a slave, he was responsible. He was responsible in the humiliated position. And he was also responsible in the dungeon, in the jail. He was also responsible in an inhumane position. And now, he is being responsible in this prestigious palace. He was still responsible in a high position, whether in a humiliated position, an inhumane position, or now in a high position, he remains responsible, diligent, disciplined. Christians, what should we do? What can we learn from Joseph here? I put there one implication: we must be aware of if-only attitude. We must be aware of if-only attitude. Sometimes we may think, if only I'm given a high position or more prestigious position, then I will really shine in my job, or shine at home, or shine in this place. Or if I'm made a leader, I'm in a recognized post, a certain title given to me. Wow, then I will do my best. Or sometimes you may think, if I'm made the manager on my job, wow, I will really make a difference in my workplace. No, we have this if-only attitude. Or if only I make a leader in church, then I'll be more faithful. The truth of the matter is, if you and me, if we cannot be diligent, responsible, faithful in low position like Joseph, in a humiliated position or inhumane position, we cannot be responsible, or we will never be responsible in a higher position. If we cannot be faithful in small things, no one will entrust us with bigger things. We cannot, but in this case, we see Joseph remain sober, diligent, and disciplined at his work. But more than that, verse 50 to 52, more than that, Joseph had 2 sons now. One of them is Manasseh, which means to forget. The other one is Ephraim, which means fruitful. But you must notice how Joseph understands all these things. He didn't say, wow, you see, now with so much success, I forget all my past. Or neither did he say, you see, now I'm so fruitful now. You see, with my own hand, I make all this. No, he didn't. What did he say? Verse 51, he says, God made me forget all my trouble. God made me fruitful in this land of tribulation, in this land of affliction. You see, God. Not only was he sober, diligent, disciplined, he was totally mindful of the invisible hands of God. And he gave credits to God. I put there, Joseph humbly acknowledged God. So it was a genuine, humble acknowledgement of God's hand at work in him. So just now we ask ourselves, how can we handle success? How can we handle success? How can we remain sober in our position, diligent, disciplined, and humble when we have so much success? Well, I suggest to you one application. Do a self-check. Ask yourself a few questions. Number 1, how do you know you are sober? Ask yourself, do I demand respect from people, or do I disregard people, especially those of a lower rank? If we do, that means we have our success already get into our head already, and we are not being sober anymore. So we have to ask ourselves, do I demand respect, that people must recognize my title? Worse, I treat people of lower rank with disregard, or junior with disregard. Then we know success has got into our head. How can we know that we are diligent? You ask yourself this question: do I give my due effort in my job that entrusted to me without being a workaholic? do I give a due respect, due effort to my work without being a workaholic? Second, how do I know I'm being disciplined? And how do I know I'm being humble? Sorry. Will the people around me naturally praise God more or praise me? Will the people around me naturally praise God more because of what I do, because of the job, because of the place I'm involved in? Or will they praise me more? Or their attention is focused on me? So sometimes we are so silent about our faith that you work well, people don't even know you are Christian. Or sometimes they know you are Christian, but the praise and the honor and the opportunity is all given to show off your own talents, and God was never in the picture. Can you see that? So sometimes we Christians would like to claim all the credits for ourselves. So then you know whether you are really humble or not. If we can really handle success like Joseph did, many times, people around us will be blessed, directly or indirectly. Take a look at verse 53 to 57, the effects of success. So after 7 years of abundance, after working so hard, getting all the grains, everything, there came the 7th severe year of famine for Joseph as Joseph had interpreted it. It was so severe in these short verses here, it repeated so many times. Verse 54, he said the famine was in all the land. Verse 56, famine was in all the land. And end of verse 56, it says famine was severe in all of Egypt. Verse 57, it says famine was so severe in all the earth, which is not just Egypt, which is spread throughout the whole entire region as well. And all of Egypt, the Egyptians were all running out of food, but Joseph kept them alive. Take a look at verse 54, he says, famine was in all the land, but in Egypt was bread. Bread was found in Egypt. I put there, the Egyptians were blessed by Joseph's success, or by his faithfulness, by his effort, by the way he handled his success. And the passage seems to move on from within, focusing on the land of Egypt, to the bigger aspect of it. Can you see verse 57? It says, all the earth came to Egypt to buy food. So I put there, well, it's not just Egyptians, the surrounding countries were blessed by Joseph's effort, were blessed by the way he handled success. Of course, this text also set the later stage for set the stage for the later chapters that finally Joseph could reunite with his family, and more so with this, God is going to save his people from starvation, from death by starvation. So if we handle our workstation responsibly, like that of Joseph, the people around us, directly or indirectly, will be blessed by it. Because when we are successful, we handle it properly, we will be a blessing for other people. This is the gospel that we have, isn't it? This is the gospel that we preach and we believe in. When we are blessed, so that we can be a blessing to other people. And take a look at Joseph's life. Recap again, he was a favorite son. He was sold as a slave unjustly. He was thrown into the jail without any proper reason. And now he was restored to the second highest position in Egypt. Likewise, we have a new Joseph, a better Joseph. Jesus himself was a beloved son. He humbled himself to come as a man who served us, and he died a criminal death on the cross. And now God raised him up as a risen Lord. In our responsive reading just now in 1 Corinthians, at the behind of your flip page of your bulletin outline, it says that God now raised Jesus and put everything under his feet. And Jesus was now placed in such a high place, second only to God the Father. Joseph was overall in charge of whole of Egypt. Now Jesus, he is the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Everybody see Joseph in Egypt, they have to pay their homage, bow down their knees to him, submit to him. The real King of Kings. It would be wise for you and me to pay our homage to him, to worship him, and fully submit our life to Him. And Joseph became a blessing to Egypt and beyond Egypt in the region. This Jesus came as a blessing too, to save people from our sin. Not just the Israelite people, but every tongues and tribes. This Jesus died and now rose again victoriously, sitting at the right hand of God. And He came to give us a true success, a spiritual success. Not money, because it will be gone after. Even if your money is not used up, after when you die, the money will still not be yours, will not follow you. Not fame or popularity, or maybe receiving a lot of likes in your Facebook posts or your Instagram or Twitter following. No. This success is even beyond your career, your own dreams, your perfect body shape, or a kind of relationship that you're yearning for. It's even beyond ministry successes. Jesus is here to give us the true and eternal success, which is a reconciled relationship with God through Him, Jesus Christ our Lord. It's a better success in the everlasting success. And not just that now, when He comes again, when Jesus comes again, one day, you and me will be like Joseph. We will reign with Him in the new heaven and new earth. That's what is said of us in Revelation. And through this Son who loves us and who died on the cross for our sin, this success can be ours. When you believe, when you receive Him, you trust that He died for your sin. Not just that, you also pay homage to Him. You submit your life to Him as a king of your life. When you do that, that blessing is yours. The true blessing will be yours. And when you receive that blessing, you and me can be a blessing to other people as well. And I put here the application that said, so that when you have all your earthly blessings, you will bless other people, and finally you use these to point people to the real spiritual true success, a reconciled relationship with God. This is what we're supposed to be. We are people who receive this real spiritual blessing. So use your earthly blessings, all earthly successes, use it as a blessing to other people, and then point them to the real blessings. How does it work out? I will give you some example. For example, like you see, I'm going to quote a few examples. Like you see Elder Jonah's family, they always extend their hospitality to people, other people, their neighbors and all this. Especially sometimes you see them extending this hospitality to people who are less fortunate, doesn't come from a complete family or so. So he's using his earthly successes in a relationship form as a family to bless other people. And through that, he'll point them to Christ, point them to the gospel. Can you see that? This is using your earthly successes as a blessing for other people and point them to Christ. Or another example, maybe that's how you can do it. Sister Angeline works in a hospital, and she always uses that position that she has to visit people who are sick, who are in need. So she's using her earthly successes to bless other people, to show hospitality. And when she does that, she also asks for permission to pray for them. And she has opportunity, she shares the gospel with them. Can you see that? You're using your earthly successes as a blessing for other people, and you point them to Christ. Or maybe this Chinese New Year, if you see some of the foreign workers in Singapore who are still working very hard, what you can do is about a simple ang pao for them, and you do that often enough. After a while, you pass them a gospel tract, they may just pick up your gospel tract and read the gospel tract. You are using your earthly successes to bless other people and point them to the true success that they can have in life, a reconciled relationship with God. Or some of you are very good at your studies. You can give free tuition to those who are less fortunate. You're using your successes to bless other people, and through that you ask to pray for them and evangelize to them. Can you see that? Use your earthly success to be a blessing to other people and point them to the true spiritual success. When we handle success, when we view success correctly, knowing that it is from the sovereign God Himself, if we get it, we thank God for it. If we don't get it, we are not desperate for it. And if we do get it, how do we handle it? If we handle it like Joseph, humble, sober, diligent, then we can be a blessing to other people and point them to the true success, a reconciled relationship with God through our Lord Jesus. Shall we all pray together? Lord, thank you for your word. We acknowledge that, God, we don't always handle our successes correctly. That we don't always handle it godly. We pray for many good examples among us, that whether it's mentioned or not mentioned, we know that, God, you have set good examples for us to follow in handling their success, and they are really truly a blessing to their community, their families, and their workplace or their school. So we pray that, God, will emulate such examples, and that, God, you cause us, not just us individually, but us as a church, to be a blessing to other people, and more importantly, to point them to the true success that we can have in our Lord Jesus Christ, a reconciled relationship with you. Thank you for hearing us. We pray all this in Jesus' name.